Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we drown in the bathtub. Because this week we listen to The Holy Terror.
Written by Robert Shearman.
Directed by Nicholas Pegg.
And released in November 2000. Not names I recognize there. Haven't heard of Robert Shearman.
Well, this is his first story for Big Finish, so...
And hopefully his last. No, I actually really liked the story.
Yeah, it was okay.
Really liked it.
It was okay. Yeah, Robert Shearman would go on to act in the reboot, I think. Maybe I'm mixing him up with someone else who has a name...
Who has a writer, director, actor, producer credit.
Who has a name similar to Shearman.
Sherman.
Sherman Tank.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, neither do I.
Oh. All right.
Anyway.
It starts with a king dying.
No, emperor dying.
Or emperor, whatever, same difference.
Actually, I think he dies off screen. I think it actually starts with the scribe. I think they're like, so scribe, you were one of everybody in this kingdom who pledged allegiance to the previous god emperor, and since he died, that means he's not a god, which means you're a heathen now.
So you're gonna die, unless you pledge allegiance to the new god emperor. And he's like, yeah, I do that. And they're like, all right, you're good to go then.
Yeah, he signed some forms, and they're like, here's a dark blue receipt and a light blue receipt that can be exchanged for a dark blue receipt if the dark blue receipt is destroyed.
Yeah, I didn't know that this was gonna be like a semi-funny story when I picked it. I think I just picked it because it was on Spotify, and...
I mean, it has a shape-shifting penguin.
So, yeah, actually, I do remember just picking it because it had Frobisher, but, yeah, it was pretty funny, although, like, some of the scenes were, like, British, quote-unquote British humor, where, like, it's not actually funny, but you just kind of chuckle because you know it's supposed to be funny.
Polite humor. Yeah, most of the funny bits were in part 1, to be honest.
Yeah, it got kind of really
dark. Serious in part 4.
It's sort of part, like, maybe middle or, like, beginning of part 3, where all of a sudden it was like, whoa, this is getting kind of serious.
I mean, Frobisher's scenes are the only funny scenes through parts 2 through 4, really, until the end where he's like, man, this got really bad.
Even Frobisher's scenes weren't, like, that funny.
I mean, his scenes where he's like...
They were just funny because he was a really bad actor, whoever played him.
Well, no, because his funniest scene was when he becomes, spoilers, God Emperor, and he's like... 2 hours later, he's like, yeah, so I've introduced the people to parliamentary democracy, and I've introduced them to religious tolerance, and I've only had 2 hours.
It's like 30 minutes or something like that, but that was an interesting scene, but that's in like part 3, so yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, they also take in the Empress to be imprisoned because,
die. Apparently, if your husband is God Emperor and he dies, that means you have to die too.
Yeah, because she was kinda like no longer a goddess or something, so yeah, she gets imprisoned for that. They're also going to kill a bunch more people who pledged allegiance, like a tenth of the population. Which is only a single castle, spoiler.
Won't even pledge allegiance to the new God Emperor. Honestly, if I was given the choice of dying or just pledging allegiance to the new God Emperor, sign me up for the new God Emperor.
Wow. Gotta stand up for what you believe in. Gotta stand up for that old God Emperor.
It's kind of a weird contrast with 2 weeks ago when we were talking about senators taking money.
Yeah.
And you were like, gotta take that money.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird contrast, but, oh well. Anyway, the Doctor and Frobisher are messing around in the TARDIS. Sounds wrong, but it's true.
It sounds wrong every time you say it, so pointing out that it sounds wrong doesn't change that fact.
Actually, it's not even the Doctor, it's just Frobisher messing around with some fish. Some 3D hologram fish that don't have feelings and aren't real.
Apparently he's hacked the TARDIS into making 3D fish for him. There's a TARDIS food machine.
Wasn't it just like a button that he pressed? The Doctor was like, I didn't know the TARDIS could do this. He's like, yeah, it's this button right here.
It's this button on this panel you never use on the console. And the Doc's like, what? We have food. And he's like, yeah, but it's the thrill of the hunt. Like you're a penguin.
Yeah, and Frobisher's not even a real penguin. He's just like a shapeshifter of some... He's some race. They mentioned his race, but I forgot what it was.
Yeah, you know what ruined this story for me was him never shapeshifting.
He uses it to shorten his beak.
Yeah, that doesn't... That's a dumb use of shapeshifting. I'm just going to say it. That's dumb.
But he placates the people and prevents
still
that.
Pretty stupid.
Well,
though.
I mean, he prevents.
I mean, he saved the guy's
life. He prevents
life,
the guy from dying.
But
so
that doesn't make it less of a stupid way to use his power.
They could have used his power in like better and cooler ways, but I give him a pass because he was like nice and saved this guy from dying for making this statue. So yeah, but I mean,
he gets a pass for doing it, but that doesn't make it not a dumb way to use a dumb way story wise to use his power.
Well, I mean, they don't have to. It's not like, well, you have to. It's an obligatory thing. You have to write his thing into the story. But like, yeah, if they're going to use it, maybe use it in a better way. But I don't really like blame them for using it here. All right. I guess that sucks then. But no, I mean, he's not even a real penguin. So I guess he just likes hunting fish and pretending he's a real penguin. So yeah,
I'm a real penguin.
When you wish upon a I don't know.
Fish? When you fish upon a star.
Like the DreamWorks thing.
There's
a moon, so yeah, I don't know. The moon's a star, right? Yeah, let's just go with that. Anyway, the Doctor and Frobisher land in the castle.
Not intentionally. The TARDIS is like, screw
you
guys.
The TARDIS goes on strike.
The Doctor's like, I guess the TARDIS is on strike. Anyway... story-wise, it doesn't actually land till right at the end of part 1 almost, because we get 10 minutes of them setting up the political system on this planet. And then we get...
Yeah, they adhere to tradition, like, a lot.
Pepin the Seventh, I think.
Yeah, Pepin the Seventh is like the new emperor. He was the previous emperor's son. And
the real son.
Yeah, the real son. Well,
not the bastard child.
Yeah. And, he has a half-brother, which is, I forgot his name.
Childerak, isn't it?
Yeah, Childerak, so sort of a Shakespearean kind of thing there.
Which makes sense when you find out what's going on.
Yeah, I guess. And there's also a bunch of other like random Shakespeare references, especially in part 1, like the War Against Nature, which is from King Lear. Most of this is from King Lear, actually, but yeah.
King Lear, the Doctor Who story.
Yeah, so Childerak wants to usurp the throne, as is tradition, and Pepin is like, hey, I'm not a real god, but I guess
That's not tradition.
Yeah, actually it is. You find out it is later.
No, what you find out, they don't tell the people they're not a real god, though. Him telling all the people he wasn't a real god was breaking tradition.
Yeah. Apparently he's supposed to find out that his dad wasn't a real god later, and that does happen, so yeah. Yeah, their traditions start getting screwed up once the Doctor and Frobisher show up, unsurprisingly. But, yeah.
Well, yeah, he's all like, I'm not a god, and the TARDIS... Well, when he's being crowned, he's like, I'm not a god, and the people are like, but we need a god. And then the TARDIS materializes, and they're like, see, hey, you are a god. And he's like, God damn it.
Damn it, damn it, damn it.
I don't want to be a god.
I don't actually even know what that's from, that damn it, damn it, damn it thing. I say it all the time, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't ask me.
Yeah, I think it ends... We're also introduced to Pepin the Seventh's wife, whose name I also forgot, but...
I don't actually even remember her name because she kind of disappears.
Well, for a while. She sides with Childerak later and stuff, so...
Briefly, she kind of shows up to tell Pepin she's going to kill him next time she sees him. And then she shows up trying to get the help of previous goddess, and then I don't recall her showing up again.
No, she tries to side with Childerak. You don't remember that?
It's in like the
dungeon 3. Thing. It's like right before they go to meet Childerak's quote-unquote kid. Yeah, she gets killed by the kid. She's cool...
barely in this.
Not really. She's in it for quite a bit. She's a pretty cool character. Pretty interesting character. I liked all the characters in this.
Kind of overselling all the characters in this.
Well, I mean, I just really enjoyed it, so yeah.
I mean, they were all stereotypes. Like, the whole point was that they were all stereotypes.
I mean, yeah, oh well. I still liked it. And still like stereotypes, which I do. Unashamedly.
I guess.
Yeah, so part 1 ends with the beginning of the crowning ceremony for Pepin.
Well, he gets shot at the end of part 1. Part 1 ends with him getting shot at. In part 2, it's revealed that that's tradition. The tradition of the assassination attempt And the doctor's like, this gun's loaded with blanks.
Yeah, and they're like, well, it's just a tradition, so you might as well just not waste any bullets on it or something like that. So.
Yeah, why waste bullets on a real god?
And they're like, hey, look, it's the TARDIS. You are a real god after all, which is right after he told them he wasn't a real god. And they're like, so they all go and like start worshiping the TARDIS. They're like, hey, cool.
It's a
nice
temple.
altar.
Yeah, it's an altar temple thing. Apparently the TARDIS is just freely letting people inside.
Yeah, it's on strike. So they put some flowers in it and start worshiping it and stuff. And
you don't find that out till part 3, though. Because right now the doctor's like, this is all kind of weird. I want to see your history. And the court scribe, the guy who renounced his affiliation like really easily at the beginning of part 1, is like, yeah, I'll show you the history of our planet. Here, come. It's in my bedroom.
Yeah. Got a bunch of books on block transfer protocol or whatever it was from, No, it's actually just the history of the castle or the society or whatever. So meanwhile, Frobisher goes off with Pepin to do something. I don't remember what.
Oh yeah, it's revealed that Pepin the Sixth died when he fell asleep in the bathtub and drowned.
Nice, that's how I want to go.
Is it really? I heard drowning's kind of a sucky way to go.
Can you actually fall asleep drowning? Well, I think you'll wake up before, like right before you drown.
Yeah, I feel like when you take your first gulp of water, it'll like jolt you awake pretty quickly.
I mean, drown asleep. I didn't mean fall asleep drowning.
I don't
know. I mean, I'm not going to try it because then there wouldn't be any more episodes of Trust Your Doctor. Well, I mean, with me, so there might be more, but just without me.
They'll just regenerate into a different Keon.
Wonder if Doctor Who has ever caused any suicides from people thinking they would regenerate.
Well, that's a bit dark.
I mean, I don't know.
Feel like you're probably at least a little bit mentally ill already if that was your thought process.
Yeah, like the scribe dude.
Speaking of regeneration, they're announcing the new Doctor tomorrow when we're recording this. But when this goes out, they'll have already announced who it was. But we're still in the dark, so...
Wow, interesting. It actually probably is, but I don't care. I'm not at the reboot yet, so I mean, I honestly don't care about any modern Doctor Who problems and things that are happening because I'm only on the 9th, or about to go to the 9th Doctor. So yeah.
All right, fair enough.
I'm probably not even going to know until I go on Twitter at like 4 p.m. tomorrow. So yeah.
Well, they're announcing it after the Wimbledon men's final, which could end... Oh,
I'm definitely watching that, so I guess I'll find out. No.
Oh, boy, the Wimbledon. Which could end at any time between I don't know and who knows when, so...
Yeah, kind of annoying how they never schedule sports garbage.
Yeah, kind of annoying how sports never has set time schedules.
Anyway, it's a huge digression. Back in the story, some more stuff is happening. I don't know. It's part 2, so yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, parts 2 and 3 were real throwaways for this story.
I mean, I liked how they fleshed out the characters a little more and the whole adhering to traditions thing, and just learning about their traditions that were kind of dumb and silly was pretty fun and interesting. So,
but I feel like a lot of them were fleshed out in part 1, though. Like the only real ones you find out in part 2 is that there's always a court scribe. Who always has the same handwriting for some reason, and
that part
the high priest always plots against his...
I think there's more. There's more like small stuff you figure out, which is kind of interesting to me. One of the things I really liked was how they set up sort of the mystery in this. Well, they didn't give it away in like part 2, so that was pretty nice, because a lot of Doctor Who stories kind of do that. But the whole scribe always has the same writing thing was pretty mysterious, and the Doctor begins to piece together what's going on, as he always does, but this one was actually more interesting than usual, for me at least, because usually it's just some stupid thing like the Doctor knows what's going on, and there's like literally no way that he could have possibly known, and there's no way that like you or any of the other characters in the story could have figured it out, and they give it away at the end, or the Doctor does. But here it was like, I was trying to figure out what it was too. It actually felt like something you might be able to figure out, or sort of get a clue on, like with the whole society's in this castle thing. Like maybe you could have picked up on that, which I think I sort of did. Maybe that's just hindsight. But it was kind of interesting, I guess, in that respect for me. But I guess in the end, it did just boil down to the typical Doctor Who thing. Like, could have never seen this coming. So
I mean, at the end of part 3, I was like, they're probably just in the TARDIS or some nonsense like that. It's probably just some world that was created.
I didn't think that. I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to figure it out, but I couldn't guess. And I guess it was sort of like, well, they're all just in the TARDIS or something like extremely similar to that, but we'll get there.
So extremely similar to the Doctor's, like the TARDIS specifically sought this place out because it's exactly like the TARDIS.
Frobisher is introduced to like some more of the traditions and stuff, and Pepin's like, hey, I don't want to be Emperor, maybe you should.
Well, he doesn't.
That's not how he transfers his power, but he just says like, hey,
he doesn't do that till part 3, as far as I remember anyway. But yeah, in part 2, the Doctor learns that every emperor has his book is exactly the right amount of pages. He's like, this is kind of suspicious.
Yeah, another part of the interesting mystery they were building up.
Yeah, but they kind of throw that part away. Be honest. I mean, obviously later on you can figure out it's because but they kind of throw it away. They don't really. I mean, it doesn't use that to come to the conclusion at the end of the story that
they don't really use it, and it's not really like that big of a thing. It's just something I guess they threw in there. Maybe they overplayed it too much, but I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, literally, because then the Doctor goes on about how the book that he grabbed for Pepin 7th is only a couple pages long, and the guy's like,
well. Yeah, another thing that was really overplayed in this was Frobisher's acting, which sucked.
I think you're just thrown off by that accent.
Yeah, he's from the British part of America, much like Perry and what's-her-face from Valley of Death.
Well, he's also supposed to be like a private eye, so they're like playing up that whole golden age of Hollywood noir private eye type thing.
Hard-boiled. Okay, well, his actor does a really bad job of it because he delivers like every single line in the same way. So, yeah.
Calling out Robert Jevick.
Yeah, like I didn't know his name, but
it's the only name on the front cover of the story. It's not even Colin Baker's name appears on the front cover of the story, as far as I know. Oh, it does. Colin Baker in The Holy Terror, but then it says with Robert Jevick, whatever the hell.
It's probably French.
Probably French. He's from the French part of America.
I mean the South.
Yeah, Louisiana.
Or like Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana's in the South.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's in the South of somewhere if you just define the North far north enough.
Well, I mean, if you're just going to define things however you want, you can just define everything, every place in the universe as South, and then... Yeah, you could just
Who decided North had to be up on the map?
Yeah, someone told me that recently, and they were like, my mind was blown because of this, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty interesting, but my mind's not really blown because of it.
Why isn't west upwards? Why isn't like north-northwest upwards? Anyway, the Doctor and the court scribe, who had a name that I don't remember.
It was Scribe. That was his name.
Scribe.
The Scribe.
Get captured by...
What's his face?
Yeah, we just said his name earlier, and I don't remember what it was. Wow. So Eugene Tacitus is the scribe. Childeric.
And Lavilla was Pepin's wife.
Pepin the Seventh's wife.
Yeah, Pepin the Seventh's wife. Pepin the Sixth's wife, who's in the dungeon, is it's tradition for her to want to die. So, yeah.
I don't know if it was tradition of her wanting to die. I think it was tradition that she dies, because she said...
Yeah, it's tradition of her dying, and then she wants to die because she wants to follow the tradition, and then Frobisher intervenes, and she's like, hey, I don't want to follow the tradition anymore.
Well, also, she's just wanted to die since the start of the story. She's been incredibly bored with everything. She's like, just kill me, please. And then she reveals that she tortured her predecessor for a month before she killed him. Like, okay.
Oh yeah, Childeric has this servant dude whose tongue he cut out. Forgot his name.
It doesn't matter because his name only came up once.
Yeah, he gets his tongue back and then dies pretty soon after this.
Well, so Pepin the Sixth's wife, Childeric goes to her because she's his mom and is like, you should just renounce Pepin the Seventh. Be like, you made a mistake. I'm actually the real son, and Pepin the Seventh was the boss. And she's like, yeah, no, I don't really I don't really care about you enough to do that, and also it would be breaking with tradition.
Yeah, she really hates her sons, especially in that scene in like part 4 where or maybe it's part 3, where she's like, Pepin, didn't you know that your father and I absolutely hated your guts?
And he's like, yeah, I mean, I figured it out. Yeah,
I did.
But he's like, but you didn't totally hate my guts because you turned your head every time you hit me. So clearly you didn't really want to do it.
No, he says the opposite of that. He says you didn't even turn your head when you hit me.
Oh, I thought he said they did turn their head.
No.
And that was why his mom started coming around at the end, because she's like, yeah, well, maybe...
No, it was actually just Frobisher's influence.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
Yeah, at this point, Frobisher starts usurping power. He's the evil mastermind.
Pepin the Seventh is just like, I'm not a god, but this talking bird is. And everyone's like, all hail the talking bird.
Yeah, all hail Frobisher.
Yeah, there was a track in this called All Hail Frobisher.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked this story, so this wasn't the best. All Hail Frobisher wasn't the best thing to come out of this, but it was one of the best. It was up there.
I don't know why it existed. It's like this techno remix of everybody screaming, All Hail Frobisher, and then Frobisher's like, hey, I'm naked in here. And then it ends.
Yeah, it was only like 30 seconds. Really wish they could have made it into a full-length 40-minute song.
40 minute?
Yep.
No, thank you.
Ever listen to Trapped in the Closet by R. Kelly?
No.
It's like a 2-hour song. It's still ongoing. He hasn't finished it yet.
How is it only 2 hours?
I mean, only 2 hours. It's like,
if it's ongoing and he hasn't finished it...
It's like, there's 2 hours like out so far, I think.
Oh.
Something. I don't know. I've only listened to like 10 minutes of it, so... Yeah.
Yeah, 12 minutes is about the max I can handle for one song.
But yeah, they start worshipping Frobisher and the TARDIS, and they make a statue of Frobisher really quickly. Like the best statue makers in history.
Well, he mentions there wasn't enough stone to go around, so his beak came out a bit short, and this is when Frobisher's like, yeah, it's fine, I'll just shorten my beak. Here you go. You can live now.
Yeah, because they were going to execute the
I mean, he could have just pardoned him. He pardoned Pepin the Seventh and made Pepin the Seventh his high priest, because screw tradition.
Yeah. Yeah, Frobisher really represented the anti-tradition and anti-establishment side here, I guess. So, yeah.
I guess.
I don't know. But yeah, he didn't really need to make the excuse of, like, shortening his beak, because he's just a god and can probably do whatever he wants. But at least he tried, so...
Yeah, at least he tried. Yeah. I still think it's a dumb way to use his power, if they're going to use his power at all in this. Because I feel like that scene only exists because they just were like, we need Frobisher to shapeshift somehow, because that's his whole, gimmick. And they were like, I got it.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Because there's no reason why the sculptor couldn't have just made the beak the correct length. In fact, there's no reason why they even needed to bring up the statue at all, if you think about it.
Well, I mean, if you're going to start talking about, like, reasons and of writing and, like, in a story, then we're probably just going to get way off topic, plus it's a dumb discussion.
But I mean, like, for the plot in the story, it didn't add...
Exactly. If you're going to start talking about, like, adding and subtracting from the plot, then it's just going to devolve into nonsense, and it's not, like, a great discussion. So...
I mean, if you say so, I'm whatever.
But yeah, he shortens his own beak. He chops it off. No.
Jesus.
Meanwhile, Childerak is like, hey, doctor and scribe dude, come down to these dungeons so you can see my son. And they're like, wait, you have a son? He's like, yeah, I've been keeping him down here for 5 years. Never talked to him.
Also,
gotta keep him
6
pure.
miles of stairs.
Yeah. Yeah, so he apparently never talked to his son. I think that's like the end of part 2 or something. You find out he has a son. He never talked to his son, and there was I don't know, I think this was in like the 70s or 80s, but there was like this girl who was like abused as a child, and her parents like never talked to her and just kept her like locked in a room, and she never learned like any language.
Yeah.
But then they found out that the parents were doing that when she was like a teenager, like 13 or something. And obviously took her out of her parents' custody there. So, but then she had like a really hard time learning English. She only like barely grasp. She learned like really simple English after that. She couldn't learn the language, which I mean, obviously doesn't matter here because the kid is like a psychic god. So yeah, but that just reminded me of that story. So I thought I would bring it up because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, not really an experiment that they would do because it's pretty unethical. But I mean, I guess they just did it here with this girl because like it was already done. So yeah,
it's kind of a terrible excuse for science, though. It's already been done. That's kind of...
Well, I mean, even if they weren't gonna
it's kind of like, should we use all that science the Nazis did just because it's already been done?
Well, like, even I guess this is like not, I'm not really trying to defend it, but I can see where they're coming from, since like she was already at the age where they knew she wasn't really going to learn the language and they were going to see how much she could learn. And plus it's like a good thing for her to like learn it rather than just being like, nah, we're not going to talk to you and you're not going to learn. So you are already screwed. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I was just making a joke.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So yeah, he brings them down to the dungeons, and we meet his son, his all-powerful son.
Yeah, part 3 ends with the son killing Pepin the Seventh's wife, and also
and the servant guy without a tongue.
Yeah, the servant without a tongue, and it's like, who is the man who created God? And I'm like, it was Robert Sherman. He created you.
Well, because the son is trying to find out who his father is, because it's revealed that What's-His-Face isn't actually his father. I guess he's his biological father, but I guess when they say father here, they're talking about the writer.
It's Robert Sherman. Turns out this whole story is a metaphor for Robert Sherman's life.
He killed his son.
He wrote it from prison.
Yeah, there was something else at the end of... Oh, right. Childerak reveals that he was going to keep his son in the dungeon until he was like 18 and came of age to be a god emperor. But that plan went wrong when the Doctor and Frobisher showed up, so he's like, I'm just going to do it now.
Well, it goes wrong because Pepin the Seventh abdicates. And Frobisher is like kind of actually a god because they shoot him in the assassination attempt and the bullets go straight through him. They use live bullets this time. And he's like,
they make up some excuse to like actually use bullets. They're like, we just wanted to try it or something like that.
I think they were like, well, since the Doctor complained, we were like, well, why not just put real bullets in, I guess.
So yeah, they do it, but Frobisher's A-OK.
And he's like, wow, I guess I'm actually a god. So that's when he introduces the people to parliamentary democracy as well as religious tolerance.
Yeah.
And he asks Pepin the Seventh how the prime minister elections are going, and Pepin the Seventh's like, oh, the people had a question about that. They wanted to know who you think they should vote for.
Yeah.
And he's like, remind me to introduce them to free will in my next speech.
Boo, we don't like free will. Well, I don't, at least.
I mean, the solution to this whole story was free will.
Yeah. It's kind of bogus. Anyway, the son person goes on a murderous rampage trying to find his dad.
Yeah, as you do.
Pretty normal there. He was the only sane one in this.
Yeah, I mean, when you find out that his dad killed his son, kind of, yeah.
Well, him.
So, the Wasp is back.
So the Doctor meets back up with Frobisher into part 4.
And Frobisher's like, where you been, Doc? I kind of been screwed here. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that Pepin the Seventh and Frobisher go into the TARDIS and find all the flowers, and like, I bet the TARDIS is really enjoying this, being worshipped as an altar.
Yeah.
Nice going, you conceited box of junk.
Oh, we also skipped the scene where Pepin confronts his mom. That's where we learn the mom never loved him, but she starts coming to his side.
Well,
it's a pretty...
Frobisher heals her.
Yeah, Frobisher heals her.
Because her daughter-in-law tried to kill her.
Yeah, she didn't want to be healed, but eventually she comes over to Frobisher's side. This was an interesting scene because she goes on like this whole sort of tangent or speech thing where she's like, yeah, we never wanted free will. We really all just wanted to be told what to do. And now that you've introduced free will to our society, you've kind of ruined us. And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of true to an extent. I think most people don't really want like complete freedom. Kind of, I want to be told what to do a little bit. So yeah.
No, they want the illusion of freedom.
There's an essay I read recently, which is from Ursula Le Guin, which doesn't say whatever you want about her. I mean, I don't know. Most people, she has like really controversial opinions, but she's pretty smart, I guess. I mean,
most acclaimed political writers have.
I mean, she's a fantasy
Political
writer,
and
so
psychological.
She had this essay I read recently called "Why Are Americans Afraid of Dragons," which is semi-related to this, so I guess I can link it, but it's really long, so I wouldn't read it if I were you. And it's pretty boring too, and it's kind of pretentious and stuffy as political and quote unquote literary writers usually are. So yeah.
I see you have
good writer, though.
I see you have strong feelings on political writing.
I mean, she's not a political writer, she's a fantasy writer, so yeah. It's not really a political piece. It's just like an essay.
About free will?
It's more about like fantasy and I don't know. I don't know what it's about. I'll just link to it.
I mean, you're the only one who's read it among the two of us, so I feel like you're more qualified to say what it's on than I am.
No, not really.
I mean, if you ask me, I'm just going to say it's about dragons.
Yeah. Well, it's in the title, so yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm just kind of taking a stab in the dark here.
Yeah.
That it's about dragons.
But anyway, yeah, I'll link to that if anyone cares, which you don't, then you shouldn't, so yeah.
If you don't, then you shouldn't. Okay, makes sense to me. Anyway, Frobisher's like, yeah, well, your society's way better with free will. The only reason society is falling apart right now is because there's a freaking psychic godchild running around killing everyone.
And they're like, oh yeah, we should probably deal with that.
And then the mom's like, oh yeah.
Frobisher's like, all right, good luck with that. So he and the doctor leave. No.
Yeah, fun with this psychic godchild. We can just blow up people's heads.
Oh yeah, he killed Childerak. Did we mention that the son killed Childerak?
No.
Well, if we didn't, then now we did.
Well, so the doctor goes back and is like, yeah.
Yeah.
I can totally stop. I figured it out. I can stop this. And he goes. And
Scribe's like cowering in the corner, so he goes to the scribe and he's like, what are you doing, Scribe? Get out there. Fight. He's your son. Oh yeah, we forgot the scene where the doctor semi-reveals... I thought this was actually interesting. This was another thing that I was like trying to piece together, but again, in the end, I couldn't. Where the doctor tells the son's like, who's my real dad? And the doctor's like, deepen your voice and you might be able to find out. So he deepens his voice and it turns into a deeper old man voice. And I was trying to think like, who is this in the story? Because
Scribe.
I guess it was the Scribe, but it was just really a really generic old man voice, so I couldn't tell who it was.
It was the Scribe. Sounded pretty much like Scribe to me.
Yeah, I didn't really think the Scribe sounded... that distinct, so that's why I didn't get it.
The only reason why it sounded like it to me was because, to me, the Scribe was the only distinct voice in this freaking thing, except for Frobisher. Like, Childerak and Pepin sounded almost exactly the same to me.
Pepin actually sounded a lot like the Doctor to me.
Yeah, and the Doctor also sounded like them, and it was kind of confused. And Pepin the Seventh and Pepin the Sixth wives both also sounded very similar, which was confusing to me as well.
Yeah. Well, Pepin the Sixth's wife had like a slightly deeper voice. It was pretty much the only way to tell.
I found out that Childerak and Pepin the Sixth's wife are actually married.
Person.
No, they're married. So Childerak, so Childerak's mom is played by the person who plays Childerak's wife.
Yeah.
There you go.
So anyway, it's now revealed within 2 minutes that it was actually all just a story written by the Scribe.
The whole castle and everyone disappears. Well, they all die. Okay, they all get their heads exploded. Okay, we know that's what you were here for. Brutal, bloody violence.
That's what I was here for.
Go watch a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah, I imagine this is really bloody. I don't know about you, but I imagine just like blood splatter everywhere.
No, I actually imagined it kind of like how a PG-13 movie would do it, which is put it all off screen. Because we only see...
Have there like 3 blood shots that they're allowed or whatever? No, I don't know.
Because we only see Frobisher and Pepin the Seventh are chilling in the castle, so I imagined like the shot would be them in the castle with people outside screaming and dying, and you wouldn't see any of it. So, I mean, you could argue that that's even more terrifying than actually seeing it, because you can imagine what's happening. But I didn't, so...
Well, okay then. No, I imagine this is really violent. Like, way more violent than they'd probably ever make Doctor Who.
Where's my R-rated Doctor Who movie? I mean, Doctor Who's dealt with some like pretty dark topics, but they always shy away from showing it.
Even this story does, I guess.
They always,
in some ways,
rein it into just thematic darkness and never.
Oh, we skipped that cool scene where Pepin and Frobisher are
cool.
It's cool.
I actually don't know what scene you're talking about yet. So,
where they're in the TARDIS and Pepin's like, "Oh, cool altar," and Frobisher's like, "Actually, it's not an altar. It's just a device that can take us wherever we want and do like really cool things." And then Pepin's like, "Yeah, that's what an altar is to me." Well, that's pretty cool. Like, and they was playing cool music during it too. So
the exact words were like, Pepin's like, "Does it allow you to communicate with other people and take you to different places?" And Frobisher's like, "Yes." And the guy's like, "Well, that's an altar. That's exactly what an altar is."
I really liked that scene. Like, really liked it.
Yeah, it was kind of there for me. It's kind of a cog in the machine.
So anyway, what's really happening, which I guess you could have pieced this together if you were smart enough, but I wasn't. So the scribe was imprisoned for killing his son. So
I don't feel like anybody could have pieced that part together.
No,
I
feel
like
you
could
have
pieced
part,
together like
that
the
he was writing
being his dad. You could have figured out,
and that the scribe was sort of writing all this.
But the whole scribe killed his son.
No, not that.
That was kind of a detail that just showed up at the end. The doctor's like, "So you killed your son, right?" And it's like, "Yeah."
That part was kind of out of nowhere. I still liked it and felt it fit with the rest of the story and was entertained by it. But I also kind of thought that this was something that they just thought of as like a premise for the story and then just sort of lost it when they tried to make it mysterious and hidden within the rest of everything. And then they kind of just not tacked it on, but they just had to put it in at the end. It was still kind of a cool reveal to me, and I still liked it, so that doesn't undermine that. But yeah, that's what I just thought.
Yeah, maybe. I wasn't too bothered by it. I wasn't too bothered by it either. It didn't bug me that it just showed up at the end because I felt like you could figure out enough of the pieces already that having one piece that you didn't know didn't bug me.
Yeah. Having one piece that was just sort of out of nowhere.
Yeah, if you couldn't figure out the entire thing, like all three key pieces that we mentioned, like the him being his father, the scribe being the father, the scribe writing the whole thing, and the scribe killing his son, like if you couldn't figure out at least one of those pieces, then I would have been like, this is dumb.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, the scribe has been writing this same story, so that's why things have been happening again and again. That's why they're so stuck to tradition.
He keeps forgetting it. He's like, yeah, at least I can live here and forget what I've done.
Yeah, but the face of his son keeps coming back in different forms, and in this form, it's Childerak's son for some reason. So he kills the son every time.
Yeah, because the son comes back. He mentions a couple times before he came back as like the high priest or just a random villager.
Some rando
just chilling outside like, hey, what's up? I'm your son.
I wonder if it ever came back as him. Probably not.
Nah, that'd kind of be weird.
Yeah. Have to kill himself, kind of like at the end of this.
This plot point about him having to relive this over and over reminds me of how hell works in the TV show Lucifer. Which you see it once because Lucifer goes into hell to
chill,
get some information from someone who died in the previous episode, and you see he keeps reliving this one moment in his life over and over again, and Lucifer's like, you'll never stop reliving this until you think you don't deserve it anymore.
Huh.
And this feels pretty similar to me. The doc's kind of like, you'll keep reliving this until you stop killing your son.
Kind of a jerk son, convincing him to kill him the entire time. Because the son actually, he's haunted by like his son's ghost because he thinks the son was like feeling guilt, like I must have done something wrong for you to kill me, Dad. And he was just like, no, actually, I'm just a psychopath.
Well, I think it's supposed to be implied that the dad doesn't remember why he killed his son anymore because he goes, I must have been mad to kill you. There's no other reason why I would have killed you.
Yeah, I just thought he was just some crazy dude who killed him. Maybe just because I just watched an episode of, God, I don't even remember what the show is called because it's the first episode I watched of it. It was just some random thing I caught on TV, but it's something prison or something, but...
Prisoner of Azkaban.
No. It's like a quote-unquote, what are the...
It has the
I'm
word
blanking on what
prison in the title. Probably I've never seen it before, so I'm totally blanking on any TV shows with the word prison in the title.
It's
Prison Break.
No,
the movie.
It's God, what are those shows called? Like the OC.
Reality.
Yeah, reality.
Reality TV.
Yeah, it's like a reality show.
About
and
prison?
Yeah, apparently.
What?
And the one guy they were interviewing just killed his parents for apparently no reason. He was just like, yeah, one day it was just time to do it, so I did it. So
it's just time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was his reason. So I guess I was sort of thinking of that when I thought of this dude.
Yeah, I just assumed he didn't remember anymore because he's been through this loop so many times.
Yeah, that might be the case too. Anyway, he's
like, screw you, Doc.
The son has a knife, so
he's like, screw you, Doc. I have a better way out of this loop. And the doctor's like, wait, what are you doing, Scribe? Scribe, no. The Scribe's like, here you go, child, kill me. The doctor's like, no, don't do this. No, this isn't what I wanted.
So he does it, and everything disappears except the TARDIS, conveniently.
Yeah, I kind of imagine this like that white void in, I think it was The Mind Robber, the second Doctor story.
Yeah. That one they just tacked on because all of a sudden they had to make a 7-parter or whatever it was.
That scene they just tacked on because they realized they were out of budget but needed another 10 minutes to the story. So they just painted the room white.
But yeah, it ends on like a pretty somber note with the Doctor and Frobisher being like, well, Frobisher was like...
the Doctor kind of rubs it in Frobisher's face because Frobisher's like, but they all had feelings even though they weren't real. And the Doctor's like, yeah, just like the fish. I'm like, wow, Doctor, you really didn't need to go
this
there.
Was all part of my plan to convince you about the fish. No, I did all this, Frobisher. It was all for you. No.
But anyway, I guess that's just the 6th Doctor for you, so...
Yeah, pretty interesting that this was kind of like a Shakespearean thing, and like Colin Baker is like a Shakespearean actor. I think he's a Shakespearean actor. He's still one of the best actors to play the Doctor, in my opinion.
Of the classic series, yeah.
The classic series.
I definitely think Peter Capaldi is the best actor to take the Doctor, period. But But you'll see when we get there 3 years from now. Actually, it's 2. Almost 2 now.
Yeah, I guess if some of the story-specific characters in this were garbage like they usually are, then Frobisher would have been less standout. But I liked Frobisher. I'm interested in hearing some more Frobisher audios.
Yeah,
so.
He shows up once more. And not even an official main range audio, just like a bonus story.
I thought he was in some comics. Not that I read
he is
comics.
from a comics. He is from the comics, actually. Apparently, Big Finish at one point was like, let's do some stories set in other continuities that aren't our own. So this was one of the ones they did set in the quote-unquote comic continuity, and they did a couple set in the book continuity with the 7th Doctor. Yeah, Frobisher shows up in another story called The Maltese Penguin. It's apparently, I read the description on the wiki, it's like unsurprisingly, a hard-boiled crime story featuring Frobisher the Penguin as the detective. And Colin Baker shows up briefly as the 6th Doctor, apparently. It's a mostly Frobisher story.
Great. Sounds good to me.
Is it, though?
Yeah.
You think you'd listen to 2 hours of Robert Javec acting as Frobisher?
Yep. It's pretty bad, but I would. I would.
I don't know. I'm just bummed they didn't use his standout ability.
I mean, hey, we're going to get to it eventually, but probably going to have to listen to it eventually. But yeah, they could have used his ability a little more, but oh well, I guess.
Like they could have, if Pepin the 7th didn't want to be God Emperor, they could have had Frobisher shapeshift into Pepin the 7th and act as Pepin the 7th for him.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things they could have like changed in the story and done with the story, but they didn't, so I guess we can't do anything about it. Except rewrite this as a fanfic of itself.
Man, that'd be a weird fanfic. Never seen a fanfic rewrite a story like I can do it better.
No, there's actually a lot of fanfics out there that rewrite stories.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there are. I've just never personally seen one.
Oh, I have.
Do you like Google fanfic Doctor Who fan? Kind of like that time we found that one with Barbara and Ian and they
with the ice cube.
Yeah, with the ice cubes.
God, what a blast from the past.
We should link that in the show notes.
Yeah, we should. Read that.
That was a tame story, right? That was just them talking about ice cubes or whatever.
Yeah, that wasn't like NSFW.
Although I'm sure NSFW Doctor Who fan fiction exists.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially with Barbara and Ian.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Barbara and Ian. Those are the characters that people would write it about.
I forget who I was listening to recently. There was a Doctor Who podcast, and they were like, yeah, there was definitely something going on with Barbara and Ian. Like, yeah, they were definitely, yeah. I all agreed.
They were definitely, yeah. I mean, like, didn't they get married, off screen after they left?
No.
Based on extracurricular continuity?
No.
I mean, also Ben and Polly got married. We mentioned this before on this show, how it's weird that the first Doctor was kind of setting up all his companions with each other, like Stephen and Sarah, and Ian and Barbara, Susan Vicky. With David.
The one who didn't was Dodo.
Yeah, well, Dodo was just like, peace out.
Yeah, actually, all the first Doctor's companions got married except Dodo. Wow.
Lol, Ben and Polly. Ben and Polly get married, then they get divorced, then Polly realizes she still loves Ben, I think, based on what I read on the wiki. And then they get married again, I think. That's how that went down.
Anyway, yeah, good story in my opinion.
I think it could have been 2 parts. I think if it had been 2 parts, this would be in my top 10.
I think it could have been 3, like, at the minimum. I liked all the castle building stuff. Not world building. I also hate the term world building. And it wasn't a world, it was just a castle, so, yeah.
I don't know. A lot of the stuff in parts 2 and 3 felt really extraneous to me, and they could have put them into either parts 1 and 4, really. Like, I feel like you could even just listen to parts 1 and 4, and this would still make sense. I mean, okay, you'd miss the Frobisher becoming God Emperor bit, but otherwise I think it would make perfect sense still.
And you'd miss, like, all the cool and interesting bits.
Not really.
I guess if you're just bored by it, then, I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
you wouldn't really know who the kid is, either. You wouldn't really know why this kid is looking for his dad and killing everyone.
I still think it could have been 2 parts.
Meh.
So, I don't know. Anyway, email us at thedoctordecadavegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Frobisher, the shape-shifting penguin who doesn't shapeshift. Actually, he has another name that's not shapeshifter. It's like morphologist or something with an M.
No, morphologist is something else, but yeah.
Find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. All this Trust Your Doctor. Leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're listening to Master. But until then, the end.